Hey team, welcome to the EATS2SEATS Cook training. Here today, you're going to learn how to be a cook with us at EATS2SEATS. Here's a general overview of the training. First, we're going to go over hygiene and safety standards, then we're going to go over pre-sales responsibilities, then we're going to go over during sales responsibilities, and then finally we'll go over cleanup. By the end, you should have a general baseline understanding of what to do on site. So first, let's go over general hygiene and safety procedures and standards. The overarching rule of thumb with hygiene standards is to be clean. Since you're handling food, it is very important that you are taking care of yourself and showing up to work hygienic. Make sure that your fingernails are cut as well, because bacteria can live and breathe under your fingernails. You're also always going to want to wear gloves and to wash your hands very frequently in the kitchen, because most bacteria is going to exist on your hands, and we can mitigate that if we're always washing our hands with the proper technique and we're always wearing a clean pair of gloves. To confirm, you should always wear gloves whenever you're handling any type of food item, and you should rewash your hands every time you switch gloves. The proper technique for washing your hands is to wet your hands with clean, hot water, then to apply soap and lather your hands by rubbing them together with the soap, and then make sure you lather the back of your hands between your fingers and under your nails. You'll scrub your hands for about 20 seconds and then dry your hands with a single-use paper towel to properly wash your hands. In regards to safety, fires can happen in the kitchen, guys. Make sure that you know where your Class K and ABC fire extinguishers are within the kitchen as soon as you get on site. Also, you should never use water to put out a fire. We will utilize the pass technique to put out fires, and to go over that, the proper fire extinguisher technique is to pull. You'll pull the pin. This will also break the tamper seal. Then you'll aim low, pointing the extinguisher nozzle at the base of the fire. But do not touch the plastic discharge horn on the CO2 extinguishers, because it gets very cold and may damage your skin. Then you're going to squeeze that handle to release the extinguishing agent, and then number 4, sweep. Sweep the spray from side to side until the fire is completely put out. If the fire somehow reignites, then be sure to repeat steps 2 through 4, aim, squeeze, and sweep. To keep going over safety hazards, this is how you're going to avoid burns while cooking. We work with a lot of equipment that could burn you, like a steamer, a fryer, a grill, and then hot food warmers. For steamers, always slowly open a steamer and let the steam escape before fully opening the door. For fryers, never add water or ice to the fryer, because that will make the oil start popping and getting on your skin. For grills, make sure you don't overcrowd the top with product, and also make sure you keep the flames to a minimal level and utilize zone cooking if you're using a gas grill. For slip hazards, as per the EATS2SEATS dress code, always make sure you're wearing black non-slip shoes, because the floors in the kitchen can get wet and we don't want you to slip and fall. Also, on that note, always walk and never run in the kitchen. Another thing that can reduce slip hazards over time in the kitchen is to clean as you go. Make sure that you're throwing away trash, sweeping up and mopping up as you go, and be vigilant in enforcing this with your runners and your food service workers to reduce slip hazards in the kitchen. Next, let's review pre-sales responsibilities for an EATS2SEATS cook. What should you do immediately after you check in and before sales start? The first thing you're going to want to do is locate essential kitchen inventory needs and locate essential items within the kitchen. These can include thermometers and thermometer wipes, cold storage, which will be in a freezer in the back of the kitchen. Dry storage is in the back of the kitchen as well, which will house anything food service workers or food preppers need to prep your cooked food and get it to the cashiers for sale. You'll also want to identify where your cooking utensils are kept, like spatulas and tongs, so that you can utilize those for grill cooking or any other type of cooking within the kitchen. You'll also want to locate where your 3-compartment sink is within the kitchen to utilize it to dethaw meat and to clean up anything you use within the kitchen during the shift and after. You'll also want to locate where your fire extinguisher is, where your hand washing stations are, where your trash cans are, where your first aid kit's at, and then where your cooking appliances like the stove, the fryer, the hot food warmers, and the steamers are located within the kitchen. Locating all of these items will drastically increase your performance throughout the shift. Next, let's review the production schedule. You'll need to identify where this is at within your stand booklet, review it with your stand lead and your site lead before the shift. Get familiar with your production schedule. If you have a kitchen supervisor with the venue, connect with them and get a feel for what kind of product you'll need to produce and when throughout the shift. This schedule will be designated with times and PARs, which are the quantity of that item that needs to be produced by that time, and that's how the entire sheet is set up. So that's why we need to be familiar with this and ensure that those quantity metrics are hit on time. And for big mass prep items like hamburgers or chicken tenders, be sure you 100% understand how to make much of each item that you should be cooking. Also, identify any build sheets with ingredients and how to prep the food that you're cooking, and go over those with food service workers and food runners before the shift. Next, you're going to want to make sure that your food service workers and your runners are organized and make sure that they know which specific items that they are prepping pre-sales and during the shift. For example, you need to have one runner putting cooked fries and chicken tenders into baskets and one putting burgers on buns with lettuce, tomato, cheese, ketchup, etc. Also, make sure that your space is organized and that you have plenty of prep space for your runners to make food prep items during the shift. Also, make sure that you grab any prep items that you'll need and bring them to the prep space from dry storage, which can include fry boats, hot dog foils, and any other food prep items. Next, let's go over our standard operating procedures for cooking during sales. The first thing we want to go over is that production schedule we just talked about. Make sure that you're utilizing it as a North Star on when to cook and what items to cook in the kitchen. If you're working with other EATS2SEATS or venue cooks in the kitchen, make sure it's very organized as to who is making made-to-order items versus mass-producing items on the production schedule. A made-to-order item is a specialty item offered at the stand like a specialty burger or hot dog, whereas mass-produced items are your general chicken tenders and fries, hamburgers with the general toppings, and other stuff like that. Now let's go over temperature rules. We must temp any food that we cook during the shift, and as a general EATS2SEATS rule of thumb, any food item that we cook has to temp out at 165 degrees Fahrenheit before serving. We also must utilize the thermometer wipes after each time we temp an item to clean the thermometer wipe to ensure that we don't cross-contaminate or serve raw meat. Some tips for temping food: temp at least 3 to 4 product items that you are cooking in a batch and make sure that they are all consistently hitting 165 degrees. Never only temp one item on your grill or stovetop and then assume the rest are good to go. Moral of the story is, we have to temp every product item we serve. We must clean the thermometers with thermometer wipes after we temp another item. And at minimum, every food item that we serve needs to temp out at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Like we reviewed in the safety portion of this video, cleaning as you go is very important. Make sure that you're sweeping as you go, that you're keeping your cooking appliances cleaned as you go. You're ensuring that everyone is washing their hands, ensuring everyone is wearing gloves, that we are cleaning up any spills on the floor immediately, and that we are cleaning dishes during downtime. All of these things will help keep everyone more safe, and it will also decrease the cleanup workload at the end of the shift. Next, let's go over fry cooking. Here are the how to fry basics. First, you're going to want to put frying oil into the fryer. You can find that within the kitchen, and you'll fill the oil to the max line level. Sometimes the venue will do this for us, so be sure to check with the venue when you get on site as to if this needs to be done. Ensure your fryer is on and that the temperature is correct. If your fryer is too hot, the oil could start popping and potentially burn you. Then you will place your food into your fryer basket, and it's very important that you place your food into your fryer basket when it is not already in the oil. That is also a burn hazard. Once you put your food into your fryer basket, then you will slowly lower it into the frying oil, and then while it's cooking, make sure you're wiggling it every now and then so that the product items in the basket don't stick together. Now that your food is cooking in the fryer, in regards to temping the food, never temp the food while it is in the fryer oil. This is a major burn hazard. When you need to temp your fryer food, pull the basket up, drain the oil, and then temp the items. If you see items start floating to the top of the oil or notice significant color changes while it's under the oil in the basket, this is an indicator that they are ready to temp. If the items don't temp, simply lower them slowly back into the frying oil, and then if the items do temp, move them from the basket into a hotel pan for a food runner to prep them. Next, let's go over grill cooking. Here are the how to grill basics. Number 1 Ensure that the grill is on and at the correct temperature. If you're unsure of the temperature, confirm it with your site lead, your stand lead, or venue supervision. Number 2, place the product items on the grill top. Ensure you're putting every item in one batch on at the same time so you don't have a high variance in cook times. For seasoning, if seasoning is required for the meat, season the top side first and then the back side after the first flip. And always keep the seasoning level consistent. Also, don't cook different meat types on the grill top. For example, we're never going to cook chicken and beef together or pork and chicken. Next, we're actually going to cook the products and we're going to flip the meat that we just put on the grill top at consistent intervals and frequently to ensure that the meat is properly cooked and that the inside texture is consistent. Here we can utilize zone cooking, which means using different levels of heat to maximize meat quality and utilizing the entirety of the grill top space to cook. And then also, biggest thing here guys, temp your product frequently to not overcook. As soon as that meat hits 165, we want to take it off and get it to a food prepper to prep for sales. If your products temp, remove them and place them in a hotel pan for food prep and have a runner in a prep station nearby to bun burgers or chicken sandwiches or any type of food item quickly. Lastly, you are going to want to ensure that you scrape your grill after each time you finish a batch and make sure that you keep the grill as clean as you can while you cook, and especially if you have multiple types of product on the grill top. To dig deeper into zone cooking is pretty much utilizing 2 zones of heat on your grill to have a greater degree of control over how fast your meat cooks and the inside texture quality. Zone cooking utilizes both direct heat and indirect heat, with direct heat meaning one side of the grill has a higher cooking temperature, which is perfect for those hot sears, that signature black grill mark on the meat, and indirect heat, which means the other side of the grill has a lower cooking temperature but still provides plenty of heat to cook the food. This allows for a slower rise in temperature, and it's great when you want evenly cooked food. Overall, zone cooking is a great way to utilize all of the space on the grill top. It increases the total product throughput by utilizing both the indirect and direct heat zones, and it achieves the signature grill mark effect over direct heat while evenly cooking the food on both sides of the meat with the indirect heat zone. During sales, you'll also need to utilize hot food warmers. Hot food warmers are used to store cooked product until it is needed to be served or prepped. Depending on the type of stand you're at, you could be utilizing a variety of types of hot food warmers during your shift. These could include a normal hot food warmer that we saw at the beginning of this section, a crisper. A crisper is where we will move food from the fryer into the crisper, and we will season the food in the crisper before preparing it in a burger or chicken box. A steam table is when we will move food from the grill or the stove into hotel pans and keep them warm on the steam table before we finally cook them on the grill and then prepare them on the flip top cooler. In summary, if you don't have a normal hot food warmer, utilize a crisper for a fryer and a steam table for a grill. For some general notes on utilizing hot food warmers, always cover trays and hotel pans in saran wrap when they're available to retain more heat and moisture in the meat. And for hot ticket items, overproduce these and store them in hot food warmers to keep up with demand and to not get behind on production. Keep your hot food warmers nearby to prep stations like flip-top coolers and other cooking appliances to keep up with demand as well, and to increase efficiency. Also, always wear oven mitts and burn gloves and be super careful when operating machinery in the kitchen while trying to maximize sales. Next, let's talk about utilizing steamers. Steamers have similar functionality to hot food warmers, but steamers are different. We will typically use steamers to cook menu items like hot dogs, barbecue, or frozen items when we need to thaw them quickly. The good thing about this equipment is it provides fast production and thawing at a proper temperature rate to avoid excess bacteria growth, and it also helps the food retain moisture, nutrients, and color. Be sure to clarify with the venue if we are cooking any items exclusively in the steamer pre-shift, because sometimes we will cook some items, like hot dogs, exclusively in the steamer and maximize cooking space in the fryer and on the grill. As a safety note, remember, always slowly open steamers before you fully open it to allow the hot steam to air out before fully opening the steamer door and avoiding burning yourself. Next, let's review utilizing backstock during sales. For cold storage, remember, any frozen food backstock will be found in the freezer around the kitchen, and that's why it's important to locate it immediately when you arrive. And also remember, any frozen food you pull from the freezer must be thawed either in a steamer or under lukewarm, running water in the 3-compartment sink. Also remember, your utensil storage is probably right next to the freezer or dry storage, So if you drop any cooking utensils on the ground or they get too dirty during the shift, this is where you'll find additional cooking equipment or utensils, like hotel pans, pots, spatulas, tongs, and other stuff like that. Also remember, utilize dry storage during the shift because your runners and your food service workers will need to grab things like fry boats or hot dog foils from there to prep the food that you are cooking from the freezer. Next, let's review thawing. Why is it important to thaw properly? Because not thawing properly can increase the risk of bacteria growth in the meat that you pull from the freezer. So we must always thaw our meat before putting it on the grill or in the fryer. You could thaw something in either a steamer or a 3-compartment sink. And remember, for any food that's thawed in the 3-compartment sink, place it under lukewarm running water in the 3-compartment sink that's 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Never thaw anything under standing water. We need the water to be running from the faucet, and make sure that the meat is fully submerged. It is always important to get ahead of thawing so that we don't get bottlenecked on production, and that's why it's very important to familiarize yourself with the production schedule, where everything is located in the kitchen, and then familiarize yourself with the production schedule so that you can gauge thawing needs based off that schedule and expected sales that you'll get from the venue client. And always remember to fully drain the sink after thawing an item in the 3-compartment sink. Finally, let's review our standard operating procedures for cleaning up after sales end. The general overarching rule we like to use here at EATS2SEATS for cleanup is to leave the kitchen or the stand the way we found it. Our pre-close down task, so this is before close down actually starts, the first thing we're going to do is start filling our 3-compartment sink properly. Sink 1 will be your wash sink, sink 2 will be your rinse sink, and sink 3 will be your sanitized sink, and we'll review this later. Make sure that staff are bringing all their dirty dishes and utensils to the sink before close down, and that we're cleaning as we go, pre-sweeping and cleaning up big spills during downtime before sales end to decrease the workload at the end of the shift. Our general cleaning requirements, which could vary by venue, so make sure that you confirm this with your ROD before heading on site, are to scrape the stoves and to clean them with sanitizing wipes. Cooking appliances need to be spotless. To clean grease traps on the stoves and grills, we're never going to pour grease down a sink drain. Confirm with the venue where the grease drain is on the kitchen floor because that's most likely where it's going to be. We're also going to clean our fryer baskets in the 3-compartment sink and coordinate with your venue supervisor to drain the frying oil if that's necessary. Again, that varies by the venue. Then we're going to wash all of our dishes and utensils in the 3-compartment sink, which we'll review here next. We're going to sweep, throw away all of our trash, break down all cardboard boxes, and mop. Even if you do all that, you must confirm with your venue supervisor, your site lead, and your stand lead that your kitchen and cooking area is perfectly clean before you're dismissed for the shift. Next, let's do a deep dive on a proper use of the 3-compartment sink. First, make sure your drains are plugged on the sinks before filling them, and use the 2 tubes on the back of the sink for sanitizer or soap. Normally the blue tube means soap and the red tube means sanitizer. Now, each of the 3 sinks in a 3-compartment sink have a significant meaning. Sink 1 is your wash sink. You'll fill it with hot water and normal dish soap, and you'll utilize this sink to get primary food residue off of the dishes, and make sure that you wash your dishes using the water in this sink 1. Sink 2 is your rinse sink, which you'll fill with warm water and don't add either soap or sanitizer, and you're going to make sure that you remove all food residue that you didn't get in sink 1 in this sink before finally moving to sink 3, which is the sanitized sink. Sink 3, we will fill it with hot water and the sanitizing solution, and we'll place spotless dishes from sink 2 into sink 3 and let them sit in that sanitizer solution for 1 minute. Then we will take items in sink 3 out of sink 3 and place it on the open space to the side of the 3-compartment sink to air dry those items. Once you've cleaned all of your dishes, make sure that you clean your 3-compartment sink fully and sanitize it when done, and fully drain the water out of the sinks and don't leave any food residue in the sinks. Once everything's clean, put the items back where they belong in the kitchen, like dry storage, cold storage, or your kitchen utensil storage. Next, let's review sweeping and mopping. For sweeping, ensure you have located a broom before the shift starts, and make sure your close down process is easier at the end of the night by sweeping as you go throughout the shift. For mopping, remember the mopping solution will be a separate tube to the right or the left of the 3-compartment sink in the back of the kitchen. How to mop properly? Well, first, we're going to make sure that the floors are swept and fully cleaned before we start mopping, and then we're going to wet and wring the mop by saturating the mop with the cleaning solution we found near the 3-compartment sink and dipping the mop into the bucket and saturating it, and then we'll wring the mop out well, either using the built-in wringing mechanism or with your hands. But the mop should not be dripping or soaking wet. And then we'll begin mopping the floor in a figure 8 pattern, starting from the far corner of the room. Work backwards, ensuring you're standing on an unmopped section of the floor to avoid tracking any dirty footprints. Also be sure to rinse the floor after you've fully cleaned it with soap and cleaning solution of any remaining soap residue after you're done. Overall, just ensure no soap or sitting water was left sitting on the floor, and utilize a squeegee to remove standing water if needed. Once you're done mopping the floor, empty the mop bucket in the 3-compartment sink and clean out the mop bucket. Then you'll remove the mop head and clean it in the 3-compartment sink. Some best practices for mopping properly: never use a dirty mop water bucket, utilize the 3-compartment sink to refill the mop bucket if you have dirty water, and utilize the chemical hoses for soap. Never use a dirty mop head either, guys. Locate one in your venue's warehouse if you need a new one. And spot treat tricky areas. If there are any sticky spots you missed in step 1, use the mop to spot treat them by applying downward pressure while rubbing the mop quickly back and forth. And don't walk on the floor after mopping. Lastly, let's review cleaning your cooking appliances in your prep stations. We're going to want to make sure that we clean all countertops, food prep stations, and cooking appliances like a grill top, stove, or fryer before leaving for the night. On your grill top or stove, cleaning the grease trap is very important. Grills and stoves have grease traps above the temperature controls, so make sure that you're cleaning this up as you go throughout the shift. And at the end of the night, we're going to clear the trap that normally will be on the bottom left of the stove, and we're never going to dump that residue into a hand washing station or the 3-compartment sink, but we'll locate the kitchen drain on the floor of the kitchen, and then we will dump that grease trap in there. Most of the items you will use to clean the kitchen for the night will be found either in your dry storage area or by the 3-compartment sink, which will include steel wool, grill blocks, and wire brushes. You will use all of these items to clean all of your cooking appliances, in addition to sweeping the floor with a broom, mopping the floor with a bucket and a mop, and then also utilizing any soap and sanitizer to clean food prep stations, countertops in the front of the stand, and any other places that need to be cleaned. Thank you for watching this video. Please text your ROD or email support@EATS2SEATS.com with any questions you may have. After watching this video, be sure that you take our E2S Cook 101 quiz on the MyTrainings tab of your E2S Staff App to be certified to be an E2S Cook with us at any venue at any time. Thank you for watching. May God bless America, and may God bless E2S.